camera's in the wrong place, but it doesn't matter, because this is divergent anyway. No sound in the background because this is something else. And I'm starting a series using the Akadawa or any type of energy modality that you work with, energy healing modality, any type of energy, Seikim, Reiki, quantum touch, all of that good stuff. Anything. Anything that you can feel in your body or sense in any way. I think this is going to be important because most of us want to sense energy better, and that's usually what I get. How can I feel it more? Whether it's your own personal chi or whatever energy you're working with, or the Akadawa. How do I feel it more strongly? And I usually take the approach that you want to move as much energy as possible, practice with it, activate it as much as possible, and that by clearing out the meridians, basically, and different pathways throughout the body, and using movement and all of that stuff to do so, you will become much more aware of your energy body. You will become much more aware of the Akadawa, let's say, or whatever energy, and that's how you get it. And I'm still a proponent of that. However, I think what's being missed here is the importance of the mind and the importance of yi, the will or intent, and focusing that awareness on one specific thing. This is a difficult thing for everyone to do these days. Focus your awareness on one thing. It's a difficult skill to master, and no one really understands how focused we can be on one thing until you start meditating and have some success with it, you know? Because if you're not having some success with it, then you're not concentrating on one thing well enough. I'll never say hard enough, singularly enough, so that everything else drops away and you actually feel physically connected to that object, whatever it is. It can be so incredibly powerful, and that can lead to even greater states of awareness, the opening of consciousness, and different types of meditative states. So, and understanding. So, there's no music in the background because in this exercise, you only have to do one thing. You only have to activate the energy, however you activate it, and then listen to it. I don't think anyone is going to realize or discover how important this is or how powerful this can be until you actually do it. Because concentrating the mind like that, and for some reason we're very focused on our hearing as hearing people. If you're deaf, then it might be through vision that is easier, but for some reason, even though we're so focused on our hearing as a society, we value the visual more. And when we tell people to concentrate on something, we're often equating concentration with visualization and vice versa. And I think that's it puts people at a disadvantage because not everyone visualizes well. I do not visualize well. It's all muddy up there. I don't care. It doesn't do anything for me to see something half the time anyway. It's much better to feel it. And if you can feel it, that's kind of the most basic and the ultimate. But feeling is also harder than hearing because we literally have to reach out the way we think of it. Since we're so focused on our actual physical bodies, we have to reach out with our physical hand and touch something to feel it because we're not so focused on the subtle. If we were focused on the subtle, we would be able to feel pretty much, maybe not even pretty much, every object around us with our energy body. you know? You have those senses, you just don't know how to use them. But what's interesting, well, all of that's interesting, I suppose, but interestingly enough, using the hearing for us really gets into the intently focused yi, intently focused intent. I probably should fix that phrase. Keenly focused intent and keenly focused will, but then yi is also it's almost like the primal awareness, you know? It is one thing, you use it, well, or you might say that that's actually just the awareness, but you use it, the will, the yi, in order to focus that awareness. Not just focus it, but direct that awareness. So it's that little mental push. No, I'm going to think about this now, you know? And when you do that, you exercise it, you make it stronger. And then all of a sudden, it's not so easy to get into that state of keen concentration or that interesting, strange, meditative state that was so elusive before is no longer so elusive. You just go, and you're there, at least to begin with. You just start concentrating on the breath, and you're like, whoa, why was I rushing around so much before? This is where it's at. This is awareness. I got it, you know? And that's a good thing. You almost like carve out grooves in your head when you use yi like that. So I'm talking too much because this is something that should just be experienced, whether you have Reiki and you can use this. I like to do this, and what I like to do here is use this as a focus for your awareness. So go like this, activate the energy, feel, we're using more than one sense now just to get you in the moment. Feel the tips of your fingers, and you're focusing yi on activating that energy, giving a little mental push towards the fact that Reiki or Akadawa is activating. And you don't have to think about whether it's activating on the tips of your fingers, whether it's coming out of your heart. You don't have to visualize anything. Just feel things with that intent. So you have that intent focused. Feeling these fingers is that intent. Now, this means the intent, right? So all at once, this simple gesture and this simple feeling that you're with, that you're concentrating on, is the activation of the energy. So just feel what the tips of your fingers feel like, lightly pressing against each other. You don't want to, that would be constricting things and restricting things. So just feel the tips of your fingers coming together. Feel them softly. Let them meld together. And just be with the feeling, the sensations of all the fingers. Doesn't matter which ones, and it doesn't matter if you're not paying attention to one more than the other. Just starting out here. And let that feeling activate the Akadawa. Now listen to it. There's something happening here. Whether you think it's in the very center of your hands, in here somewhere, or it's happening on your fingertips, or it's happening all through here, or whatever, something is happening here. So pay attention. When you do that and you shift to listening for something, you will, and go do something else after that, and then try it again, shift to listening. You will start to notice how flexible the mind is. We think that we have one mind all the time, and that it just is, and there are random thoughts that go through it, and we either are sort of paying attention to something or we're not. We're paying attention to two things and we think that's good, so we call it multitasking, and it sounds fancy. But really, there is one awareness, but it has levels and it has stages, and the mind has different abilities. It has different senses within it. And if you can learn to focus it, if you can learn to give it that little push in the right direction, you'll start to notice that your mental landscape is a lot more rich than you ever realized before. What is my mind? What is my mind doing when I'm really keenly listening to something? I don't care about what's in front of me. I'm just listening all around me for something really important that's going on. What is that? And you're in a different mental state than your normal everyday awareness. Think about when you're working on your computer and then you hear something weird over there and you're like, what was that? It completely wakes you up. It turns you into a different, scientists might call it, the fight or flight syndrome, and maybe we're just reacting off some adrenaline rush or whatever. I'm not feeling adrenaline when I'm meditating and I decide to listen to something very intently. It's mental gymnastics, and you need to learn how to get yourself into a flexible mental space. And you'll start to see how important all of these practices are as we go along. But for right now, after you've really connected your intent with this, that you're activating the energy, push that intent into simply listening to the energy. It's invisible. You can't see it, so don't try to see it. There's no need for that, okay? Making something real with the vision in the mind is really difficult right now. We don't need to do that. So just listen. Listen between here. Listen to that energy that you're activating and see how your mind changes. Then after a while, all you need to do is say, I'm going to get into that mental state. It's a lot of words for one little mental push with ye. You just decide to do it. You don't need to define it. You don't need to say, I am getting into this. You just decide with ye, that mental push, and you're there. That's your intent, your intention, whatever. Intent, not intention, I guess, but I don't know. Really see a huge distinction between the two. One is more broad, I guess. Your intent, maybe it is intention. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Your intention to push it towards that type of awareness. You don't have to define what it is, or you can use the technique and just listen for the hearing. That's the sort of concentration aspect, the awareness, that keenly focused awareness that we all need to become more used to using. Okay? So use that. Play with it. Play with using that feeling to activate an energy. And at the second part of this exercise, move your hands away and pretend like all of your fingers are also hearing the energy out in the air. See how far away you can get with your fingers. Try to connect your hearing and your sense of touch. You can even wiggle your fingers like this so that you're constantly aware of them. Okay? Things start to get really intense really quickly, especially when you're using an energy like the Ikaduwa. I think you will thank me for this video, especially if you're using the Ikaduwa with it. I say that you can use it with any type of energy, and that is absolutely true and recommended. However, the Ikaduwa affects consciousness very, very keenly. And so if you have it, use it with this technique and let me know what happens.